Ladies and gentlemen, I want to talk to you today about something that we all need to be mindful of as we get older. The people we surround ourselves with. You see, in life, not everyone is meant to go with you on this journey, especially in your later years. It's not about being rude or unkind. It's about protecting your peace, your joy, and your purpose. There are certain individuals who will drain your energy, keep you stuck, and hold you back from becoming the best version of yourself. So today I want to share with you 8 people you must avoid in old age. The ones who may try to rob you of your happiness, your peace of mind, and your future. But remember, as you eliminate the wrong people from your life, you'll make room for the right ones who will lift you up and help you live the full life God intends for you. Toxic people are a significant challenge to deal with, especially as you age. They carry a weight that can be unbearable and exhausting, constantly draining your energy and peace of mind. These individuals often bring negativity into every aspect of your life, and their presence can affect you in ways you may not even fully recognize at first. You see, toxic people tend to focus on the problems in life rather than the solutions, and they frequently highlight your shortcomings or point out the worst-case scenario in every situation. They thrive on conflict and create drama wherever they go, making everything around them feel chaotic and tense. The energy they emit can suffocate you, leaving. As you get older, you need to recognize that you do not have the time or energy to keep dealing with people who are constantly negative. Life is too short to spend with individuals who only know how to bring you down, who only see the world through a lens of cynicism and pessimism. You deserve people in your life who lift you up, who inspire you to be better, and who encourage you to pursue your dreams, not those who constantly tell you why something won't work or why you're not good enough. One of the most difficult parts of dealing with toxic people is that they often disguise themselves as friends or family. They know how to put on a mask, pretending to care about you while secretly undermining your success or happiness. They may even use manipulation tactics to get their way, pulling on your heartstrings or making you feel guilty for setting boundaries with them. They thrive on creating dependency, feeding on your emotions, and making you feel responsible for their happiness. They might even make you feel as though you are the one in the wrong for not putting up with their behavior. But over time, these relationships begin to wear you down. You start to feel emotionally drained after spending time with them. Or you may even find yourself dreading interactions, knowing that the conversation will inevitably turn negative. You might start to feel like you're walking on eggshells, always worried about triggering their temper or being subjected to their critical remark. The constant negativity can chip away at your self-esteem, and before long, you might start doubting your abilities or your worth. This is the dangerous power that toxic people hold over you. Their negative energy can seep into your own thoughts and feelings, clouding your judgment and your sense of self. It's important to recognize the signs early and understand that you do not have to tolerate this kind of energy in your life. As you age, your time becomes more precious, and your mental and emotional well-being becomes even more important. You can no longer afford to keep toxic people around, pretending everything is fine or hoping they'll change. It's essential to take a step back and ask yourself if these individuals truly add value to your life, or if they're simply taking from you without giving anything in return. If they're not contributing to your happiness or growth, then it's time to set firm boundaries or walk away altogether. You may feel guilty at first, especially if the toxic person is a close friend or family member. You may worry about hurting their feelings or causing conflict. But it's essential to remember that your mental health, peace of mind, and happiness are just as important, if not more so. Setting boundaries is not about being unkind. It's about protecting yourself and preserving your ability to enjoy life to the fullest. Toxic people will often try to make you feel selfish or unreasonable for wanting to distance yourself from them, but you must remember that their behavior is the problem, not your need for peace. And as you get older, you'll find that the people who truly care about you will understand and respect your decision to distance yourself from toxic individuals. In fact, they will likely support you and encourage you to prioritize your well-being. Real friends and loved ones will want to see you thrive, and they will never try to bring you down. It's vital to surround yourself with people who are positive, supportive, and uplifting. Those who inspire you to be the best version of yourself, who challenge you in healthy ways, and who help you grow. Toxic people will only hold you back and prevent you from living a life filled with joy, peace, and purpose. You don't have to settle for relationships that are draining or unhealthy. You have the power to take control of your life, to choose who you allow into your inner circle, and to protect your heart from the harm that toxic individuals can cause. Be strong, be brave, and most importantly, be kind to yourself by making the choice to avoid toxic people in your life. Energy vampires are people who seem to suck the life out of you every time you interact with them. These individuals are not necessarily malicious or intentionally harmful, but they have a draining effect that leaves you feeling exhausted, overwhelmed, and depleted. They have a way of consuming your emotional energy without giving anything back in return. Whether it's through constant complaints, excessive need for attention, or their inability to focus on anything positive, energy vampires can wreak havoc on your mental and emotional well-being. As you age, you become more attuned to the importance of conserving your energy. You realize that time is limited and you need to protect your peace and vitality, especially from people who consistently take without offering anything meaningful in exchange. The most difficult thing about dealing with energy vampires is that they often don't recognize or acknowledge the toll they are taking on you. These individuals can be charming, endearing, and even well-meaning. They may not necessarily intend to harm you, but their insatiable emotional demands create an unbalanced dynamic that leaves you constantly feeling drained. They may seek your attention constantly, telling you their problems without any concern for how it affects you. They may talk endlessly about themselves without ever asking about your life or well-being. The conversation might always turn back to them, their issues, and their struggles, leaving you with little room to talk about your own needs or experiences. Energy vampires are also experts in making you feel guilty. They often know how to pull at your heartstrings, using emotional manipulation to make you feel responsible for their emotional state. They might bombard you with guilt trips, making you feel like a bad friend or family member if you don't give them the attention they crave or help them with their problems. They can also create an atmosphere of drama where everything is urgent and everything demands your immediate focus. They thrive on chaos and conflict, drawing you into their personal storms. And before you know it, you're caught up in their emotional whirlwind. Their problems become your problems, and their negative energy becomes yours to bear. One of the most damaging effects of being around energy vampires is that you begin to lose touch with your own needs. You may find yourself constantly prioritizing their needs over your own, putting your own happiness and peace on the back burner. Over time, this can lead to feelings of resentment, frustration, and even burnout. You might notice that your own emotional reserves are running low, and you have nothing left to give to anyone else, not even yourself. The constant drain can leave you feeling empty and isolated, wondering why you feel so disconnected from your own life and goals. In your later years, you'll likely recognize that you no longer have the luxury of time to waste on people who take without ever offering something in return. As your priorities shift, you will realize that you need to invest your energy in relationships that are reciprocal, where there is mutual respect, love, and support. You'll understand that being around energy vampires not only depletes your energy, but also stunts your personal growth. They keep you stuck in a cycle of negativity and dependency, preventing you from moving forward or finding joy in your own life. Sometimes energy vampires will refuse to take responsibility for their actions. They might insist that you are the one who is too sensitive, or that you are overreacting to their behavior. They might dismiss your feelings or try to convince you that their demands are reasonable. In these moments, it's crucial to trust your instincts and acknowledge how their behavior makes you feel. If you consistently feel drained, anxious, or emotionally exhausted after spending time with someone, that is a clear sign that the relationship is unhealthy and it's time to set boundaries. Setting boundaries with energy vampires can be incredibly challenging, especially if they've been in your life for a long time. They may try to guilt trip you or convince you that you're being selfish, but it's important to remember that protecting your emotional and mental health is not selfish, it's necessary. The best way to handle an energy vampire is to limit your exposure to them. You don't have to cut them out completely, but you do need to establish clear boundaries. You may need to stop engaging in their drama or refuse to participate in conversations that are overly negative or one-sided. It's okay to say no when they ask for your time or energy, and it's okay to prioritize your own needs over theirs. As you grow older, you'll become more comfortable with saying no and protecting your space. You'll recognize that you cannot pour from an empty cup and that your own well-being must come first. It's also helpful to recognize the signs of an energy vampire early on, so you can take steps to protect yourself before they start to drain you. If someone consistently leaves you feeling emotionally exhausted or depleted after spending time with them, it's a red flag. If your interactions with them leave you feeling negative, anxious, or resentful, it's time to reevaluate the relationship. And while it can be difficult to distance yourself from someone who has been a part of your life for years, you have to remember that your health, happiness, and energy are more important than keeping toxic relationships afloat. People who don't value you are among the most harmful individuals you can have in your life, especially as you get older. These individuals don't recognize your worth, nor do they show appreciation for the time, effort, and love you give them. They might take you for granted, never acknowledging the sacrifices you make, or they may only show interest in what they can get from you without ever considering what you need or want. This kind of dynamic can leave you feeling unseen, unappreciated, and emotionally drained. And it can damage your self-esteem and sense of self-worth over time. As you age, you naturally begin to prioritize relationships that add value to your life. And you start to realize that people who don't value you simply aren't worth your energy. When you invest your time and emotions into someone who doesn't acknowledge your efforts or treat you with respect, you're essentially giving away your emotional resources for nothing in return. You might find yourself constantly making excuses for their behavior, telling yourself that they're just going through a tough time or that they don't know how to show their appreciation. But in reality, if someone truly values you, their actions will reflect that. It's not enough to hear the words, "I appreciate you," if their behavior consistently shows the opposite. People who value you show it through their actions, their time, and their consideration for your feelings. It's easy to fall into the trap of people-pleasing, especially when you're trying to gain the approval or affection of those who don't value you. You may go out of your way to do things for them, accommodate their needs, or bend over backward to make them happy, hoping that they will eventually recognize your efforts. But often, no matter how much you give, it's never enough. They'll continue to take, expecting more, without ever reciprocating, leaving you feeling drained and unfulfilled. It can be incredibly frustrating when you give so much to someone only to feel like they never truly appreciate or recognize your efforts. Over time, this dynamic can lead to feelings of resentment and bitterness, especially if you're constantly giving and not receiving the same level of care or attention in return. As you grow older, you come to understand that your time and energy are precious. You start to realize that you can no longer afford to spend them on people who do not recognize your worth. Life is too short to keep giving to those who only take. And you deserve to be surrounded by people who acknowledge and value the unique qualities you bring to the table. You deserve relationships where there is mutual respect, where both parties put in the effort to nurture and support each other. People who value you will make you feel seen, heard, and appreciated. And their actions will back up their word. One of the signs that someone doesn't value you is their tendency to take you for granted. They may expect you to always be there for them without ever considering your own needs or limitations. They may assume that you'll drop everything to help them, but when you need support or care, they're nowhere to be found. This one-sided dynamic can leave you feeling like an afterthought, as if you're not important enough for them to invest time or effort into. If you find yourself always giving, but never receiving the same level of attention or care, it's a clear sign that they don't value you as much as they should. Another red flag is when someone treats you poorly or disrespects your boundaries. If they consistently belittle your feelings, dismiss your opinions, or ignore your needs, it's a clear indication that they don't truly value you. People who value you will respect you, both in words and actions. They will honor your boundaries, listen to your needs, and show empathy when you're going through tough times. If you feel like you're constantly fighting for their attention or affection, or if they regularly make you feel small, unimportant, or invisible, it's time to reevaluate the relationship. As you get older, you become more attuned to these subtle signs, and you start to recognize when someone is simply taking advantage of your kindness, generosity, or love. The more you value yourself, the less willing you are to tolerate people who don't recognize your worth. You begin to realize that you don't need to prove yourself to anyone. You start to set clearer boundaries, and you learn to say no without feeling guilty. You understand that you deserve to be treated with kindness, respect, and consideration. You're no longer willing to settle for less. It's important to surround yourself with people who truly value you, people who recognize your worth and show it through their actions. These are the people who will celebrate your successes, stand by you in difficult times, and encourage you to become the best version of yourself. They will lift you up rather than drag you down, and their presence in your life will bring you peace, joy, and fulfillment. As you age, you'll find that these are the relationships that matter most, and you'll invest your time and energy in nurturing them while letting go of those who don't value you in return. You'll find that when you make room for people who truly value you, your life becomes richer, more meaningful, and far more fulfilling. Complaining friends can become a serious source of frustration, especially as you age and start to realize the importance of surrounding yourself with positive, uplifting people These individuals are constantly focused on what's wrong in their lives or in the world, and they can drain your energy with their negativity. It's not that they're necessarily bad people, but their attitude can create a toxic environment that affects your own outlook on life. Complaining friends often don't seem to recognize how much they're dragging others down with their constant focus on problems instead of solutions. They may call you up every day to vent about their frustrations, their worries, or the injustices they've experienced without ever offering any sense of resolution or hope. It's always about what's going wrong and how things are never going to get better. While it's natural for everyone to complain from time to time, the problem arises when complaining becomes a constant pattern. When these individuals seem to live in a perpetual state of dissatisfaction, you might start to feel like they're always looking for something to be upset about, even when things are going well. It can be mentally and emotionally exhausting to try to offer support or encouragement to someone who never seems to be satisfied or grateful for anything. Complaining friends often struggle to see the silver lining in any situation, focusing only on the negative aspects. This can make you feel like you're walking on eggshells, afraid to share your own successes or good news for fear that they'll somehow find a way to turn it into a negative situation. As you grow older, you come to recognize that your time and emotional energy are too valuable to waste on people who are constantly negative. You understand that you need to be more selective with your relationships, especially when it comes to people who seem to perpetually complain without ever taking any action to improve their circumstances. They may have legitimate grievances, but their constant whining can wear you down over time, making you feel as though you're constantly carrying their emotional baggage. It can be challenging to be around someone who doesn't seem to ever be satisfied with their life or with what they have, especially if they're never looking for ways to make things better. One of the issues with complaining friends is that they often resist change. They talk about their problems but rarely do anything to fix them. Instead of taking responsibility for their circumstances or seeking out solutions, they choose to remain stuck in their misery, dragging everyone around them into it. When you try to offer advice or a fresh perspective, they might shut it down or dismiss it, often saying things like, "It's just the way it is," or "Nothing will ever change." This kind of attitude can make it feel like you're banging your head against a wall, trying to help someone who isn't interested in helping themselves. Over time, their lack of effort to improve their situation can start to frustrate you, especially if you've given them advice or guidance that they've refused to take. The emotional toll of being around complaining friends can be significant. You might find that their negativity begins to seep into your own thoughts and attitudes. You may start to feel more pessimistic, more frustrated, and more drained after spending time with them. Instead of feeling their problems become your problems, and before you know it, you're caught in the cycle of negativity, unable to break free. You might also start to notice that your own positive energy starts to diminish whenever you're around them. You might feel hesitant to share your own happiness or successes because you know it will be met with criticism. This can create an unhealthy dynamic in the relationship where you feel like you're walking on eggshells, afraid of triggering another round of negativity. The more you age, the more you come to value positivity and gratitude. You realize that life is too short to spend time with people who constantly focus on what's wrong rather than what's right. You begin to understand that your mental and emotional well-being is more important than being a sounding board for someone who is always complaining. As you prioritize your own peace and happiness, you'll naturally start to distance yourself from people who drain you. You'll seek out relationships that are based on mutual support, encouragement, and positivity, where both parties uplift each other rather than feed off each other's negativity. It's not about being dismissive or unkind to people who complain, but it's about setting healthy boundaries. You don't have to be available for every complaint or every negative conversation. It's important to protect your own energy and well-being by limiting exposure to negativity. You may find that your own outlook on life improves when you choose to spend more time with people who focus on solutions, gratitude, and personal growth. These kinds of relationships inspire you to be better, to achieve more, and to live a more fulfilling life. They motivate you to keep going even when times are tough, and they help you see the brighter side of life, even in difficult circumstances. In contrast, complaining friends can keep you stuck in a mindset of defeat and frustration. They can make you feel like things will never get better and that everything is always out of your control. Over time, this kind of energy can start to hold you back, preventing you from reaching your full potential or enjoying the life you've worked so hard to build. As you age, you'll come to understand that it's okay to let go of relationships that no longer serve your well-being, especially those that are based on constant negativity and complaint. You deserve to be around people who inspire you, challenge you to grow, and celebrate the good things in life with you. People who refuse to take responsibility for their actions are some of the most toxic individuals you can encounter in your life. These individuals often deflect blame, making excuses or shifting the responsibility onto others rather than owning up to their own mistakes or shortcomings. As you age, you become increasingly aware of the importance of accountability in relationships, both with others and with yourself. A lack of responsibility from others can create an environment of frustration and resentment, as it prevents you from having honest and constructive interactions. People who cannot take responsibility for their actions often disrupt the harmony of your life, and their behavior can cause long-term emotional strain. One of the most frustrating aspects of dealing with someone who refuses to take responsibility is their tendency to make excuses. No matter how clear the situation is or how much evidence is presented, these individuals will insist that it's not their fault. They may blame external factors, other people, or circumstances beyond their control. The problem in their eyes is never something they could have prevented or handled better. It's always someone or something else that's responsible. This constant deflection can make you feel unheard and unimportant, as if they don't value your perspective or the impact their actions have on you. Instead of acknowledging your feelings or addressing the issue at hand, they sweep it under the rug, leaving you with unresolved tension and frustration. Another aspect of this behavior is the way these individuals avoid accountability by manipulating situations or people to cover up their mistakes. They may use guilt trips, emotional manipulation, or even silence to make you feel responsible for the consequences of their actions. For example, if they've let you down or caused you harm, they might shift the focus onto you, making you feel like you are the one who's wrong or overreacting. They may tell you that you're being too sensitive or that you're misinterpreting the situation. This tactic can be incredibly damaging because it makes you doubt your own judgment and feelings, allowing them to avoid taking responsibility while making you feel guilty for feeling hurt or upset. The inability to take responsibility also prevents personal growth, both for the person refusing to take accountability and for those around them. When someone is constantly avoiding responsibility, they are stuck in a cycle of denial, never addressing the underlying issues that contribute to their behavior. This lack of self-awareness means they don't learn from their mistakes or attempt to improve. They remain stagnant, caught in a pattern of unacknowledged failure. In contrast, people who take responsibility for their actions are able to learn from their errors, grow, and evolve. By refusing to take responsibility, these individuals deny themselves the opportunity for self-improvement and personal growth, making it difficult for them to move forward in life. In your later years, you will likely recognize how important it is to surround yourself with individuals who own their actions and accept responsibility for the impact they have on others. As you grow wiser and more self-assured, you begin to understand that personal accountability is the cornerstone of any healthy relationship. People who take responsibility show maturity, integrity, and respect for the people in their life. They recognize that their actions have consequences, and they are willing to make amends when necessary. When someone refuses to take responsibility, it creates a toxic imbalance in the relationship where trust erodes and resentment builds. This kind of dynamic can be emotionally exhausting and damaging, making it difficult to move forward in a positive direction. The refusal to take responsibility can also extend to a lack of empathy. When someone cannot admit their mistakes or recognize how their actions have affected you, they are not showing any concern for your feelings or experiences. This can lead to a deep sense of isolation, as it feels like they are emotionally unavailable or indifferent to your needs. You may try to express how their behavior has impacted you, only to be met with defensiveness or indifference. Over time, this lack of empathy can cause emotional distance, as you feel like you are giving without receiving any understanding or care in return. Relationships based on a lack of responsibility and empathy are often unhealthy and one-sided, leaving you feeling unimportant and unsupported. Furthermore, when someone refuses to take responsibility, it places a burden on you to constantly pick up the pieces and solve problems that should not be yours to solve. You may find yourself constantly covering for them, compensating for their mistakes, or trying to fix situations that they should be addressing themselves. This can create a sense of imbalance in the relationship, or you are shouldering a disproportionate amount of the emotional or practical load. Over time, this can lead to burnout, frustration, and resentment as you are constantly in the position of dealing with their lack of accountability. Eventually, you may start to feel like you are the one who is always expected to clean up the messes they create without any acknowledgement or help from them. As you get older, you will begin to recognize the importance of setting boundaries with people who refuse to take responsibility. You will understand that you cannot continue to sacrifice your peace and emotional health for someone who is unwilling to make changes or learn from their mistakes. It becomes essential to distance yourself from individuals who perpetuate this behavior, not because you don't care for them, but because you need to protect yourself from the negative impact of their actions. You have the right to demand accountability in your relationships, and you deserve to be surrounded by people who take responsibility for their actions and show respect for your feelings. It's not about seeking perfection in others, but about recognizing the value of personal accountability and maturity. You deserve relationships where people are willing to own their mistakes, learn from them, and make amends when necessary. This kind of dynamic fosters trust, respect, and emotional growth, making it possible. People who refuse to take responsibility will keep you stuck in a cycle of frustration and resentment. But those who do are the ones who will enrich your life and help you become a better version of yourself. One of the most destructive kinds of people to have in your life as you get older are those who consistently bring drama and chaos into every situation. These individuals thrive on creating conflict, stirring up trouble, and making mountains out of molehills. Whether it's through exaggerating problems, creating unnecessary tension, or getting involved in gossip, people who bring drama into your life can drain your emotional energy and make every interaction feel like an emotional roller coaster. As you age, you start to understand the importance of peace, tranquility, and stability in your relationships. And the last thing you want is to be surrounded by people who thrive on creating chaos. These individuals tend to magnify every little issue into something much bigger than it needs to be. If something small happens, they will make it seem like the end of the world. A minor misunderstanding becomes a full-blown argument. A slight criticism turns into a personal attack, and any disagreement becomes a major confrontation. They seem to have a knack for turning normal, everyday situations into dramatic events that take up an inordinate amount of time and emotional energy. This constant drama can be exhausting, leaving you feeling like you're walking on eggshells, unsure of what will set them off next. You begin to realize that no matter how hard you try, you can never seem to avoid getting swept up in their emotional turmoil. People who bring drama into your life often thrive on the attention they get from it. They may seek out drama intentionally, looking for situations where they can stir things up or create a spectacle. Sometimes they might exaggerate details or twist the truth to make themselves appear more interesting or to gain sympathy from others. This behavior often stems from a need for validation, as they feed off the emotional responses they receive from those around them. They may stir up conflict just to feel important. And in doing so, they create unnecessary chaos that disrupts the peace of those around them. Over time, this constant need for drama can wear you down as you find yourself caught in the middle of situations that should never have escalated in the first place. It's easy to get caught up in the emotional whirlwind that these people create, especially if you have a tendency to be empathetic or compassionate. You might find yourself getting involved in their problems, trying to offer solutions or helping them navigate the drama they've created. But the truth is, no matter how much you try to help, people who thrive on drama often have no real interest in resolving the situation. They simply want to keep the chaos going because it's what gives them a sense of purpose or attention. Even when you offer solutions or try to diffuse the situation, they may resist because deep down, they don't want things to calm down. They want the chaos to continue. As you get older, you start to realize that you have a limited amount of time and emotional energy, and you cannot afford to spend either on people who thrive on drama. Life becomes too precious to waste on constant turmoil and unnecessary conflict. You begin to recognize the importance of surrounding yourself with people who bring peace, calm, and positivity into your life. You seek out relationships that are based on mutual respect, understanding, and kindness, where drama is not a regular part of the equation. In doing so, you free yourself from the constant emotional exhaustion that comes with dealing with people who love to stir up trouble. These drama-filled relationships can also create an unhealthy dynamic where you feel responsible for managing the chaos. You might start to feel like it's your job to fix everything, calm everyone down, or make the drama go away. But the truth is, no matter how hard you try, you can't change people who thrive on conflict. They will continue to bring drama into your life. And you'll find yourself in a perpetual cycle of trying to manage their emotional upheavals. This kind of dynamic can leave you feeling frustrated and powerless as you realize